You want to hear something very interesting? MAGA and Satan have a lot in common. They both believe in God and neither one of them follow him. Every single one of you MAGA that have a gold cross in a Bible, that Bible thump religion, there's a special place for every single one of you right next to Jeffrey Epstein one day. God did send Donald Trump here, but not for the reason that you think. He was sent here to expose the moral rot within his church. You, Make America White Again, the Megyn Kellys, the Erica Kirks, the Charlie Kirks, all of you fake Christians that run around. Faith without works is dead. Faith without works is MAGA, because that's all you people do. You say you follow Jesus, compassion, kindness, empathy, forgiving, loving thy enemy, and you're up here cheering while he says, I own the libs. I hate the Democrats. You literally go to church on Sunday with F Joe Biden and Joe and the Ho bumper stickers and praise Jesus. How many of you left your church when that racist Charlie Kirk was the victim of a school shooting because your pastor wouldn't say the name of a racist white man? That's right, because you were never there for God. You were never there for faith. You were there to hear about white Christianity. That's why you left. Good. Leave his church because you don't belong there. You're not welcome in that church because you don't know God. You've never followed God. You've followed religion. Newsflash, the Bible never says to be Christian or Pentecostal or Catholic or to have rosary beads. That was created by man to control people. People like you. You want to know why MAGA is so dumb? It's because of the white evangelical church. They're told not to think, just to not question anything. Abortion's bad and being gay is bad. But if Donald Trump rapes women and defends child molesters, hey, no one's perfect. Come on in. But if Pete Buttigieg comes to your church, hey, you're going to burn in hell. You're going to have to turn to Jesus, Pete. I'm sorry. That's who you are. You don't want to follow God. You want to play God. And you do a piss poor job of it. It's fascinating how you say, I believe in Jesus. Great. That's great. So let's look at what you voted for, because you're pro-life Christian, right? So you voted for a man that is a rapist, who defends child molesters, who is such a piece of trash he cheats on every wife. His current wife that he cheated on with the porn star, his wife was nursing their 2-week-old son. Wow. What a great man of God. Yeah, he's going to keep his word to you. He's definitely going to keep his word to you. And you watched the officers get beaten while he sat there and cheered it on and smiled. And you said, I don't care. You knew he had dinner with white supremacists, that he defended child molesters, that he made fun of disabled people. You said, I don't care. I'm a pro-life Christian. Because that's who you really are. You've never been Christians. You're modern day Pharisees. And you would have crucified Jesus 2,000 years ago in the name of God because he didn't conform to your version of religion. And ironically, even when the Sanhedrin was given a chance to release Jesus, you know what happened? They chose Barabbas, the man that laughed and smiled about murdering Christians, who was an insurrectionist. Sounds familiar. Sounds a lot like Donald Trump, doesn't it? Because that's who you voted for in 2016 and 2020 and 2024. You have always chosen Barabbas over the God of Abraham. That's who you are. Modern day Pharisees. You serve an antichrist. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot go to church with F Joe Biden and Joe and the Ho and say, oh, I love my neighbor as thyself. Every 4 years, what do you ask yourself? The most selfish, anti-Christian question in the world. Am I better off than I was? What a selfish prick you people are. So love thy neighbor as thyself, which means vote for the betterment of society. And you said, nope, I was promised more money. Ah, yes. Who's the Christian? You know who I voted for? Vice President Harris. She was going to help with gun reform, universal health care, raise a living wage, help with housing, help people get out of student loans. You know what? In my taxes, we're going to go up as a small business owner. But you know why? Because love thy neighbor as thyself is exactly what I did. And you know what you did? You said, I don't care about any of my neighbors. I only care about myself. That's who you are. Selfish pricks. And it's ironic that you keep voting for money, 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 and you call yourself Christians. Literally, when Jesus sent the disciples into cities, they went there with one thing: their sandals on their feet. And he says, if they reject you, dust off your sandals and walk away. They were poor. None of them complained. None of them whined and moaned and groaned. But that's who you are. You are harlots to capitalism. You value the promise of a dollar, earthly wealth, the root of all evil, over morality and decency and kindness. And you value a gun, a piece of metal, written by racist white people that own black people like pets, shall not be infringed. But you don't care if little children are murdered in schools. You tell me how that's Christian. You tell me how that's pro-life. You want to talk about well-regulated? Do a background check. You won't do that. Waiting period. You won't do that. You don't care about shall not be infringed. You will own a gun and let as many people die because you want to own it. And you want to know the difference, again, which is rich? I own a 6 Sauer. But you know what? If I or this country came to an agreement and said, you know what? We need to fix the epidemic of gun violence. If every American can turn on their guns, I can promise a 15% reduction in gun violence in schools. You know what I would do? I would stop this video. I would walk barefoot through glass and turn in my gun if it would save one child. That's what actually being pro-life is. And you wouldn't do it because you love a piece of metal, because it is your identity. This toxic masculinity, fake Christianity, fake patriotism, that stars and stripes and flags and guns make you some kind of an alpha male. And yet, when Jesus died, he literally says, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And he put the guard's ear back on and said, what? He who lives by the sword, die by the sword. He who lives by the gun shall die by the gun. So you think about this, MAGA. When you stand up there one day and you own the libs, you're going to own the libs, and you get into these culture wars and you demonize 10 transgender athletes. You'll pass dozens of laws, dozens and dozens of laws, but you'll vote for a rapist. How are you going to justify that on Judgment Day? Huh? How's that going to work out for you? What are you going to tell God? That you voted for a rapist? That you supported child molesters? That you ignored an insurrection? That people died, women died from sepsis? That you stood by and cheered on while brown people were unalived and murdered in concentration camps? Over 50 right now, by the way. How does that go? Well, God, I just want people here legally. What, you voted for a convicted felon white man and a rapist who defends child molesters? Why was that okay, but somehow the brown person? Because you're racists. That's what you really are. That's why you cheer it on when agents are going into these court hearings for people going through the process legally. That's why you're cheering on the reverse of the 14th Amendment, because you never wanted people here legally. You only want white people to look like me. That's why you're not Christians. You are disgusting human beings. You can turn your life around, or you can continue to be a shitty human being. It's up to you. But you just remember that you had a choice. You could own the libs and you can be a horrible person, or you can start giving a damn about somebody else like I am. Have a good day.